There you are, and here I am, which means it's time for another one of these talking with myself videos. So before we get started, a word from our sponsors. Yeah, I'm sure that all worked out really well in post. You're too late. Something that you really don't want to hear at a band practice. It's really bad when the bass player, the guitar player, whoever shows up late, and so everyone's been waiting on them. It's a whole nother thing when you're preparing to go out and record your music. Whether you're recording it yourselves or whether you're going to be going to someone else's studio, everyone needs to try and be as close to on time with the song as possible. If the entire band's rhythm picks up or drops down and everyone's following each other, it may not be noticeable and it sounds more natural. But under most situations, you're going to want to try to be as close to on the timing of the song as you planned it, because that's going to make your workload a lot easier when it comes to recording. If you walk into someone else's studio, specifically that you're paying for time at, and you haven't been practicing, you're the asshole. There's no other way around that. You're the asshole. So if you're going to take it serious, you need to practice. Yeah, some people take a more relaxed approach and play their instrument only when they're with the band. Some people will go home and do their homework. There's no real right or wrong. Everyone kind of handles it a little bit different. If that's what works for you and your band, that's great. For me, I was lucky enough, as I started to learn guitar, I also got a drum machine. I found an old Roland CR 5000. Don't look them up now. They are way too expensive for what they are. They look like a giant typewriter. Put a picture here. To say they were programmable is a little bit of over exaggeration. It was really like you could pick a hi-hat at a certain rate or a certain, maybe it had like a mambo type beat, or maybe it was just 16ths. You could kind of pick them. Think of it as like what you can do with samples now. If you have a sample of a snare that's hitting on, every first beat, and a couple of bass drum kicks that are on second and third or something, you can kind of rearrange those loops so that the drum beat changes. Basically, that's what that machine would do. It did not really sound like drums. The hi-hats kind of did. The bass drum and the snare were essentially just different tones of pops. I went from that to an Alesis HR16. I had a Boss DR 110 or 100, which was like this little pocket edition drum machine, which was super handy. I had Korg Pandora's Box PX2, which wasn't specifically a drum machine, but had beats built into it. Also not the best sounding drum machine, but it was a cool little practice tool. And finally, I landed on what I consider the gold standard of the standalone drum machine age, which was the Alesis SR16, which I still have. I think I've owned two of these over time. The neat thing about this drum machine was that it had multiple drum sounds. It could sound very, very realistic. In fact, if you played at a bar or a venue that said, hey, we want to trigger your drummer's drums, not use microphones, which was very typical in the cheaper, I would say, dive bars, where microphones would sound like ass because the room was way too small. The drums would sound amazing. They were using that drum machine typically as the brain or, the sample house for those triggers. The neat feature of that was that you could actually tap out a beat. So you could record, it would give you a click, and you could practice. That is probably one of the first drum machines that I had that could really do that. The Alesis HR16 may have had that option, but it certainly didn't have a ton of drum sounds. It was definitely limited for what it was. I mention this largely because as I found myself getting ready to record, not wanting to have to do more work than I really need to, I want to be able to concentrate on the production part of it more than did I play that well. I find myself pulling up all the demo songs and going, okay, I need to start getting back on time. Over the last couple of months, I've just been basically playing like campfires and out in the yard, playing with other people, but it's usually acoustics. It's not a full band. You tend to fall back to what is your natural rhythm. And just like everything else that can be wrong about being a guitar player or a bass player in your bedroom playing alone, you can fake yourself out and think, wow, my timing is excellent. Do a little half-hour session every day where you play to some drum beats. Um, I've mentioned this before. One of the things that I like to do when I'm trying to create songs is pick out random drum beats. Either I'll pull up some old loops, or I'll program something out, or I'll just play something on my drum set, record it, and then start playing my guitar to it. It never hurts to pick things that you normally wouldn't play to, because you will start to kind of imagine how you fit into that scenario. You never know where that riff's going to come from, or that song idea. I kind of started talking about timing initially in metronomes, but I'm really talking about drum machines. Why? Because metronomes are boring. Most metronomes, especially the basic ones, will allow you to pick a tempo and a time signature, and that's it. You're not going to change times halfway through, not unless you stop, reset it, and now play at the new time. Drum machines offer you that ability to shift during the song. If you have a full pattern, the song can pick up, it can drop down, it can cut time, it can do double time. And that's even easier now with modern DAWs, because you can actually truly visually see what's happening, know where the timing changes are coming up. And yeah, you don't want to get yourself too trained at looking at the screen while playing. You should really be using your ears. But as far as a practice tool goes, this is something that will help make you a better musician. And you'll find that when you're playing with a band, you start to rely on your ears more. You start to pick up on their natural rhythms too. The other important part of this, especially if you're in a band that doesn't run click tracks, is that it will help you in situations where there's a fallout. So I had this happen a couple of times. Bass amp speaker went. Guitar stopped working. Bass drum microphone died. You're middle of the song and something goes awry. Sometimes you can keep playing and things will kick back in. In those moments where you might be able to kind of continue on and fake it, your personal timing is going to suddenly come into play when suddenly you can't hear the drums. Couple options that I've been working with lately. For a portable situation, I've been using Gadget 2, which costs about $50 on iOS. It seems like a lot. Compared to other DAWs, it's not, but it's also not as fully fleshed out, I would say. You get a bunch of different synthesizers, you get a bunch of drums. The neat thing is I can kind of notepad things that I want to work on, or song ideas that I have when I don't have an instrument around. It's pretty easy to run up a drum beat. Just create one, just like Fruity Loops back in the day, where you've got a grid and a section and you can pop those through. Gadget also allows you to tap in a beat. There's also online options that are free. One particular drum machine that I've used in the past is on a website called Musica, and I'll put the links in the below for Gadget and this. It's a web-based drum machine. So if you have internet access, you've got a phone or a laptop or a tablet you can put next to you, you can actually select the beats. It's simple, but it's still a good practice tool. Now, of course, if you record yourself, you can use your DAW. Most DAWs have some kind of drum machine type plugin. If you're in a band, record the drums first. If you're recording, the band itself is recording, get the drum tracks down first. Allow people to practice to them. Don't get in the habit of like punching in all of your pieces. You want to be able to practice that thing all the way through. A really good band should be able to record all instruments in one shot, but sometimes you don't have that option in your own, mini recording studio. If you go into a studio to record, the best situation that you're going to have is everyone in the band just plays the song all right. Everyone just records it through. But most studios still want to do an instrument at a time. They'll do some fuzz demo track, have one of the guitar players playing along to the drummer while the drummer records his serious part, and then layer everything on top. There's a number of different ways that the recording process might go down, but the more on time you are, the more money you'll save, the more time you'll have to spend on the production part of it, not the recording part of it. You should already have what you want for the recording when you walk in. If you don't, then either you've got a lot of money to spend, one hell of a patient engineer, or a sucker of an engineer, Or at worst, you're just horribly, horribly disorganized and you're going to pay for it one way or another. I think it's important that whenever you're practicing, you're playing to some kind of beat, because it's very easy to trick yourself into thinking that your timing is great. The next step in that is record yourself while you're doing it. Listen back to it. If you're a guitar player, you may also learn a couple things about your tone that you really don't like that sounded so awesome in your bedroom, suddenly sound like crap when you record them. Your tone comes from experience and reevaluating. Your timing comes from experience and reevaluating. And it's absolutely, totally possible to take too long a break, get too relaxed, fall off those things. You never forget how to ride a bike. May be true, but I'm willing to bet that if you wait 20 years to ride a bike again, you remember the mechanics of how to ride the bike, but you're probably, a little bit wobblier than you really want to be. So that's my 2 cents for the week. Hope this is helpful to anyone out there listening, and I'll see you soon.